Sometimes the truth is not revealed in wealth or status, but in how a person treats others. And on this night, inside the most expensive restaurant in the city, a wealthy woman's social experiment would uncover more than she ever expected. Clara Alvarez, 32 years old, was a successful tech entrepreneur worth millions. Yet for the past 6 months, she had been living a double life. She disguised herself as an ordinary woman struggling financially, hoping to meet a man who could one day be a real father to her 5-year-old twins. But after countless disappointing encounters with men who cared only about cars, money, and shallow pleasures, Clara wanted to try something new. That evening, she booked a table at the city's most prestigious restaurant using a false name. Dressed in plain clothes, her hair loosely tied, she looked like she could barely afford the cheapest meal. But her purpose was to see how the staff and strangers would treat someone who appeared to have nothing. As she waited, a young waiter approached with a tray. But before he could reach her, the restaurant manager stepped in front of him. "This table is reserved for valued customers, not for someone like you," he said sharply, blocking his path. The waiter, Daniel Carter, was 28. His hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with the quiet anger of a man who had endured countless insults in silence. Clara stayed silent, watching carefully. The manager turned to her with a forced smile. "I apologize, ma'am. I'll send our best waiter right away." But Clara calmly replied, "Actually, I specifically requested Daniel. If that's a problem, I can leave." The manager's smile faded. A customer about to spend $400 on a meal was always right. Reluctantly, he allowed Daniel to continue. As Daniel approached her table, Clara noticed something most people would miss: an unshakable dignity in his eyes. He greeted her politely, took her order with care, and walked away without showing the humiliation he had just suffered. But Clara's curiosity grew. She discreetly texted her personal assistant, "I need full information on Daniel Carter, waiter at Le Monarch, urgent." Within minutes, the reply came. Daniel Carter, 28, degree in education, specialized in early childhood development, works 2 jobs to pay for his younger sister's medical school. Parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. Impeccable record. No debts besides his sister's student loans. Clara almost dropped her phone. This was not a careless man chasing money. This was a man sacrificing his own dreams for family. Something told her the evening had just changed. Moments later, a child at a nearby table began crying loudly. The parents looked helpless as other diners frowned. Daniel quietly crouched beside the boy. "Hey champ, what's your name?" he asked warmly. Within seconds, the boy stopped crying. Daniel noticed the untouched broccoli on his plate and whispered, "You know, if you imagine these as little magical trees, they taste much better. Want to try?" The boy grinned, pretending to be a dinosaur, devouring the broccoli forest, and the entire dining room softened with laughter. But just then, the manager's harsh voice cut through the air. "Carter, you're here to serve food, not play games with children." Daniel stood tall, nodded, and returned to Clara's table. As he refilled her water glass, Clara leaned in. "Don't apologize. What you did was beautiful. You're good with children." Daniel's mask slipped for a moment. "I worked in a daycare during college. Kids are honest. They don't judge a man by his job or the color of his skin." Clara felt her heart tighten. Here was a man with a gift, forced into waiting tables because society had shut its doors on him. But the harassment didn't stop. Throughout the evening, Clara watched as Daniel endured subtle humiliations. A sommelier who ignored his wine suggestions, a hostess whispering as he passed, a customer who refused to be served by him, and then a drunk man deliberately spilled wine on the floor, sneering, "Clean this up, boy. That's what you're here for." Daniel calmly knelt down, cleaned the mess, and walked away without a word. But Clara saw the moment he leaned against the wall in the hallway, taking a deep breath to hold himself together. In that instant, Clara knew she had found something rare. Not just a man who cared for children, but someone who carried strength carved by hardship. What she didn't know was that Daniel had recognized her the moment she entered. Clara Alvarez, recently on the cover of Forbes as one of the 30 most powerful women in technology. Yet, he treated her like any other guest, not out of ignorance, but out of principle. Hours passed, and Clara's admiration grew with every act of kindness Daniel showed. He rushed to help an elderly woman who dropped her cane. He paid out of his own pocket to decorate her dessert when he learned it was her birthday. While others sought recognition, Daniel worked silently, with dignity intact. By the end of the night, Clara expected to reveal her identity. But instead, Daniel approached with a calm smile and quietly slipped a folded note onto her table before the manager pulled him away again. Inside, Clara found a phone number and a short message. "If you truly care about justice, call me tomorrow." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She realized she had been testing Daniel, but he had been observing her as well. Who was really under examination? The next morning, Clara dialed his number. "You said you had something to show me," she said. "Meet me in Central Park, near the fountain. Bring your team. You'll want to document this," Daniel replied. An hour later, Clara arrived with her assistant and an investigator. Daniel was waiting with a laptop and a thick folder. "It wasn't by chance that I worked at Le Monarque last night," he confessed. "For 6 months, I've been investigating systemic discrimination in luxury restaurants. This was my 3rd case." He opened the laptop, revealing spreadsheets, recordings, and hundreds of detailed notes. 12 black employees fired in 2 years on vague accusations. Meanwhile, white employees with real infractions were protected. I documented everything. Over 300 hours of recordings. The investigator's jaw tightened. "You've built a case strong enough to shake this entire industry." Daniel nodded. "But individual complaints rarely bring change. Restaurants hire expensive lawyers. They bury the truth. Unless someone powerful stands with me, this will vanish." Clara looked at him, stunned. All this time, she thought she was running the experiment. But Daniel had been quietly building a movement for justice. "So tell me, Clara," Daniel said softly, meeting her eyes. "Are you truly searching for justice, or was last night just a game?" For the first time in years, Clara Alvarez had no prepared answer. She only knew one thing. She had met a man who was not impressed by her wealth, her title, or her empire. A man who valued honesty, sacrifice, and dignity above everything else. And perhaps, just perhaps, this was exactly the kind of man her children needed.